Appreciate that. Now that you lay some of the foundation, I want to get into it. Can you give me a little bit of your earlier childhood, and your first experiences, right, with pimping, prostitution, sex work, seeing that side of the life.
Right.
Like, what was that moment where you go from, let's say, this innocent child, right, this mind that has not experienced that, for seeing it the first time?
Well, unfortunately, brother, 19 Keys, I was molested at 3 years old by my babysitter. It gave me a strong disdain towards women, right? So I didn't want to, I just didn't like women for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like I hated everything about it. And she was a dark-skinned sister, so I really hated dark-skinned sisters. I see them, I just cringe, and it caused me to have a mental blockage. So I was in special ed. I was in the yellow bus, as they call it, practically my whole life. I was in fights all the time. My head is flat because I used to bump my head against the wall because I was trying to get my mother's attention. So, my daddy, he was from Mississippi, Oxford, Mississippi. He was a player, though. He was a hustler. My daddy shoot cricket dice and all that stuff. He was just a gamed up dude with my Uncle Greasy. And he got caught in Chicago shooting bad dice on the Black Panthers. And I was with Brother Fred Hampton Jr. I said, man, y'all beat my daddy up. The Black Panthers beat my daddy up. He came to speak at the hip hop fraternity.
What they beat him up for?
Because he got caught shooting bad dice.
Oh, okay, yes, sir.
And, the Black Panthers shoot dice, you know what I'm saying? So, that, led me, to, become, a criminal. So me and my brother, we in Oak Park, Illinois, and my brother pushed somebody off the L. The white dude was calling us niggas, and he pushed him off the L. When he pushed him off the L, the police came, and the first time I experienced police brutality, they beat me up. So now I had a fear for police, you know what I'm saying? And I had this out against police. I'm like, man, I'm finna be a criminal, right? And that's how that criminal mentality began, because they put me in jail for 3 months, in a grown man jail. I was 14 years old, and that's when I first got introduced to the Moore Science Temple. It was just luckily a brother named Finney, who was Finney Eel. He was a Moore. He just took a liking to my brother, because me and my brother was shy. We were young, but we had the gang because my father was ganged up, right? And that's how we end up leaving Chicago, because my mother said, oh, no, this ain't going down. So we went to Milwaukee. Then I ended up getting in some more trouble. And then I got in trouble. So when I came out, I ain't going to get too detailed. When I came out, to getting in trouble back over and over again, I had a partner named JD, Father Divine. He was in the gang. So I went over his house. He had 3 women there. And he said, man, these are my girls. And, it was like the Mac movie. I was, I thought I was in a Mac movie. I said, what is this? I said, man, can I have one? He said, yeah. Which one you want? I said, give me the one that's light, bright, damn near white with the coochie candy stripe. He said, her name was Dirty Red. That's the one you probably read about in my book. So she taught me the game. Then another brother named Star Child. He said, man, this how you do it. You do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. You stand on a woman, blah, 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 and you can knock another man, woman. Then I ended up knocking him for a bra. And that's when I knew I had the game. But I was a Corvette. They was Cadillacs. They was too slow for me. So I ended up robbing the bank, because that's what I wanted to do. I want to get me some quick money. And I got me some quick money. I also got some quick time, And I ended up going to jail. And then, I did again going to jail. Eventually, I met a brother by the name of Pimpin Pope. And he told me the game on how to do it. He said, man, you got to, and it's psychology. He said, you got to have, you got to go get a triple bypass. He said, you can't have no sympathy in your heart. You got to have all the sympathy removed out your heart. He said, it's not a sympathetic game. And he was one of the biggest ones, but he had got caught, with a brother, that was messing with a girl. He shot him, long and short. I don't put his business out there, but then that's when I really understood the game. So when I came home, I'm saying, my man gave me a pack. I tried that. I'm saying? I ain't gonna say who did it, but it was a family member. I gave him the pack and he ran off with the pack. And I didn't know, what was going on. I'm like, this my brother. Oh my God. I don't mean to talk about that, but if you could erase that. But, he ended up, the person I'm talking about, they end up taking this stuff. And I said, I can't do this. Then a girl named C, I ain't gonna say her first name, and a girl named A, they got with me. And, they taught me the game. But while I was in prison, my mama never came to see me. So that I was desensitized to those women again, because I was like, I was mad at my mother. So, having no sympathy is a perfect mentality when you talk about being in the ism, right? In the game. So, you know, I came in the game with the right mindset because you can't have no love in the game because all the women belong to the community. They can be with you today and gone tomorrow. And a lot of people don't understand that. People got a misconception on prostitution. They think that the pimps, you know, what can you tell a woman, literally, bro, that's so immaculate, that's so cold, that makes her say, I'm gonna go sell my body. Now, it's got to be by choice and not by force. She run past a fireman, she run past a policeman and a cab, and she don't ask neither one of them to save her for pimping. You know, it's a mentality thing, and I found that out that everybody was a part of this culture. So I was in that culture, then I got integrated in that culture, and then, you know, like I said, I love money, so when I got into the game, I just took it to the next level. I started buying minks, diamonds, Rolls Royces, and that was the psychology. I said, if everybody's selling these bras the dream, saying that, hey, you got to do this to be with me. Hey, you got to do this to be with me. I'm gonna buy your Rolls Royce, I'm gonna buy your cat, I'm gonna buy your mink. Then I pull up with that. So I was the dream. And that was my psychology, is to come with everything. And all my other partners, they was tooting blow and shooting heroin and effing their money up. And all the time they was doing all that, I was flashing and shining. And then that's how I became Pimpin' Ken. And then I started, you know, just getting into the culture. I started taking guys' bras and guys taking my bras, and it was just a lifestyle. And once I got totally ingrained to the lifestyle, I was determined to be Pimp of the Year. I was determined to be Mac of the Year. And I won all of that. When I won International Mac of the Year in Las Vegas, that's when I said, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? I reached, it's like the NBA, what we call the NPA, the National Pimp Association. I was the 2-3, the Mac of Jordan of the game. So I got out, you know, when it was perfect timing. You know, I just left the game alone, and I just went on and started opening up businesses and started doing other things. But that's really how I got into it. You know, just circumstances of events, you know, being around these people, what is the odds of the pimp, the biggest pimp in Milwaukee, being your cellmate? You know what I'm saying? And giving you the game. What is the odds of the guy you hustling with, you know, end up with 3 bras? You know, so I never really, and a lot of dudes gonna hate me for saying, I really never liked it pimping like that. You know what I mean? I never liked pimping like, it was too easy for me. You know, I like a challenge. You know, so that's why I got into corporate America. That's why I started signing artists, and that's why I started giving people book deals like Boosie and Ice-T. You know, and that's more where I'm at. I'm more like, I like mental stuff. I like to deal with the mind, you know, because I'm a Moorish American. You know, more science means more sense. You know, so even though I was out there in the streets, I was still reading the Moorish Quran. I was still reading, you know, Dr. Chancellor Williams. I was reading Dr. Ben. I was reading Malachi. I was reading Dr. Naeem Akbar. I'm educating myself, but I'm out here in this murk, in this mess, and I'm not really feeling it. You know, and dudes ain't on my level. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, you talking to a dude, he can't even put 2 sentences together. You like, man, you know, this ain't my element. So I had to get out of that element. And that's how I really kind of got into it. You know, you say, you know, the things that happened to me, you know, made me have a disdain toward women. But when I had my daughter, Kiki, at 31, I think I had her at 31 because I didn't have kids for a long time. I had my daughter. That's when I experienced real love. I said, oh, now I know what love is. And I just started treating her like an angel. I bought her bags and bags of clothes. You know, I spoiled her. She was with me everywhere I go. I was telling everybody this is my baby. And then I understood, you know, the value of love. And then I had to fall in love with my mother because I was so mad. You know, here I am. I think I'm a boss. Everybody getting visits. I'm not getting no visits. I'm mad. I'm like, you know, you know, all the dudes respect me in the joint. You know, I was the Grand Sheik. You know the Grand Sheik. I was the head dude. I was running the penitentiary, but I'm not getting no visits. And it made me upset. But after that, you know, I had to fall in love with my mother again. And then, you know, I just started having more daughters. I just fell in love with all my kids. And I really found out what love was, you know, from that perspective. And then I realized, you know, my mama's circumstances, but the only thing I held against her was the fact that she came to see my brother every other day while he was in prison, but then never come see me.
So why didn't she come and see you?
She said that she was tired of going inside that prison, and your brother was the last one. You know, once cause my brother went to jail, he got false imprisonment, what they call it, a false charge. They said he robbed something that he didn't rob. He ended up getting 5 years. And so she came to see him all the time, but she didn't come to see me. And she said she was just tired of going up there, you know, she called that white man's hellhole and seeing my kids. She said it wasn't good for her. She said she'd get sick and throw up every time she leave.